This adventure is a quest, and I have had a very good life, and I'm blessed beyond measure. But there is something missing in my life that I believe this quest will help to identify.
Dear Susan, your story goes back to 1760s era Småland, where Johan Torstensson was born in Locknevy parish. Johan later took the surname eventually passed down to you, Wigren.
Fast forward down 2 generations, when Johan's grandson August is toiling as a tenant farmer. He marries Stina Lisa Olstoffer in 1854, and they have 10 children.
One of them, a son named Carl Axel Wigren, is your great-grandfather. It is he who will bring a sea of change to your bloodline.
Axel has already sweat his way through several farmhand jobs in Småland. When he moves to Vaxholm, and for the rest of his life, he would harbor a deeply held love for this special place in Stockholm's archipelago. That's very cool.
The acute need for military housing means a lot of construction work for trained carpenters like Axel. He marries a servant girl named Emily Petersdotter in 1888, and they have 6 sons. One of those sons is Gustav, later your farfar, called Carl in America.
And this is clearly the Wigren men, because they all look like my brother and my dad, with his parents and 5 brothers. Yeah, my grandpa and his parents.
Gustav decides to follow his older brother Paul to America. Both boys share a passion for motors.
Gustav probably drove both boats and cars. He registers his profession as chauffeur upon boarding the ship to America in 1910. In the meantime, a combination of big labor disputes and recession had bankrupted the shipyard. The promise of a new start in America must have seemed attractive to the suddenly unemployed brothers.
Meanwhile, in Vaxholm, their father Axel's construction career is flourishing. Paul's love for the island draws him back to Vaxholm in 1912. Gustav himself is back in Vaxholm by 1920 when he and Paul open a boatyard of their own. The project had a tragic start when Axel died after falling from the scaffolding while helping his sons prepare for business. He was just 50 years old.
Gustav remains restless after his father's funeral. He returns to America, marries Frida Karls, and returns by the next year to help run the shipyard. When Frida gets pregnant, Gustav sends her back to America to have their first child.
He and Paul sell their business, and Gustav reunites with Frida before she gives birth to their made in Sweden but born in America son, John Wigren, your papa. His life and Gustav's and Axel's lives are bridges from Småland to Vaxholm to you.
Wow. Pretty cool. It is not the story of tragedy and fatigue. It's a good story. It's a good story, and it's really good to know it, and it's good to see it, and to feel like my ancestors is not one of being forced to flee. It's more of being of leaving for opportunity, and to try to find something that they couldn't find here. I believe that knowing my history and understanding where I came from and where my true roots are before the American Wigrens were around will help me to understand the end part of my life.